The emergency lights flashed red across the Galactic Council chamber. Smoke filled the air. Broken glass covered the marble floor. Ambassador Zekdar stood at the center podium, his 4 hands shaking with fear. "We have lost 47 star systems," he said, his voice breaking, "in just 3 weeks." The council chamber fell completely silent. Representatives from 100 different alien species stared at the hologram floating above them. It showed a map of their galaxy. Nearly half of it was now covered in dark red. The KRS swarm had returned. Elder Mathare, the oldest member of the council, stepped forward. Her silver scales reflected the emergency lights. "How is this possible? The swarm was destroyed 1,000 years ago. Our ancestors made sure of it." Zekdar touched the hologram. Images appeared. Planets burning. Cities crumbling. Millions of people running and screaming. They came back stronger. Much stronger. Their ships are alive. They grow. They learn. They adapt to every weapon we use against them. Commander Vexnor of the Valerian Empire slammed his fist on the table. "We are the strongest military force in the galaxy. We have quantum weapons, reality disruptors, plasma cannons that can destroy stars. We use them all," Zekdar whispered, his eyes filled with tears. "Nothing works. The swarm absorbs our attacks. Within hours, they become immune. Then they hit back harder." He pressed another button. The hologram changed. It showed his home planet. Green forests, blue oceans, beautiful cities with golden towers. Then the image shifted. The same planet now looked like a dead rock. Gray, empty, lifeless. "This was my world," Zekdar said quietly. "My wife, my children, 3 billion people. All gone, consumed by the swarm in less than 6 hours." The council members looked away. Some covered their faces. Others began to pray to their gods. "How long do we have?" asked the Supreme Chancellor, his 3 eyes closing in despair. The military computer calculated quickly. Numbers ran across screens. Finally, it stopped. 12 days, the computer announced. The swarm will reach the core worlds in 12 days. After that, the entire Galactic Council will fall within 1 month. 12 days to save trillions of lives. 12 days before everything ended. The council sat in stunned silence, knowing they had no solution and no hope left. "There must be something we can do," shouted Representative Kaleara from her seat. Her wings spread wide in panic. "Some weapon we haven't tried. Some strategy we haven't used." "We tried everything," General Thorne replied coldly. His massive frame stood like a stone wall. "We threw everything we had at them. Nuclear fusion bombs, biological weapons, even tried to collapse their star systems. The swarm just keeps coming." The chamber erupted into chaos. Aliens shouted in 100 different languages. Some demanded they fight to the last soldier. Others wanted to evacuate and run to distant galaxies. Fear controlled everyone. Then a quiet voice spoke from the shadows. "There is one option left." Everyone stopped talking. They turned toward the dark corner of the room. Elder Mathare stepped into the light slowly, carrying an ancient datapad that looked hundreds of years old. "No," Supreme Chancellor breathed. "Don't even think about it." "We have no choice," Mathare said firmly. She activated the datapad. A star map appeared, showing their galaxy 300 years ago. One solar system blinked red at the edge of the map. The Sol system. Complete silence filled the room. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. "You can't be serious," whispered Commander Vexnor. His face turned pale. "They are monsters." "They are effective," Mathare corrected. "During the Vrexnol crisis 300 years ago, we were losing just like now. Billions died. Our fleets crumbled. Then we asked them for help. And they helped," Zekdar added quietly. "They won the war for us in less than 2 months." "At what cost?" someone shouted from the back. "They didn't just defeat the enemy. They eliminated them. Every single one. They showed no mercy, no honor. They fought like demons. That's why we quarantined them," the Chancellor said. "That's why we forbade any contact. Humans are too dangerous. Too unpredictable. Too violent. Moth RA projected images of Earth. A beautiful blue planet surrounded by warning satellites. They've been isolated for 300 years. Alone, watching us from behind the quarantine zone. How long until the swarm arrives? She asked the computer. 11 days, 23 hours. Moth RA looked directly at the Chancellor. We don't have time for pride. Supreme Chancellor stood up slowly. His 3 eyes opened, showing the weight of his decision. Around him, the council waited. Every species leader knew what was coming. They all feared it. If we contact the humans, Chancellor began, there's no going back. Once they are awake, once they join this fight, everything will change. Everything has already changed, Zekdar said, pulling up fresh reports. The swarm just destroyed the Kelver system. For billion souls. Gone in 8 hours. They're moving faster now. Elder Moth RA placed a wrinkled hand on the ancient console. I was there during the Vrexno crisis. I saw what humans did. Yes, it was brutal. Yes, it was terrifying. But we survived because of them. Tell them what really happened. Commander Vexnor demanded. Tell them the truth about why we isolated Earth. Moth RA nodded slowly. Her voice grew heavy with old memories. The Vrexno were winning. They had pushed us back to our last 50 systems. We were ready to surrender. Then the humans arrived with just 37 ships. She paused, looking at the younger council members. We thought 37 ships couldn't make a difference. We were wrong. Humans didn't follow our rules. They didn't fight with honor. They attacked supply lines. They used psychological warfare. They turned the Vrexno's own weapons against them. They targeted civilian ships. Vexnor interrupted. They destroyed medical stations. They showed no mercy. The Vrexno were eating our children, Moth RA snapped back. They were harvesting our people for food. Humans ended that nightmare in 63 days. That's the truth. The chamber divided into arguments. Half wanted to call Earth. Half refused. Enough. Chancellor's voice boomed. The room fell silent. He walked to the window, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, the swarm was coming. Unstoppable. Hungry. Growing stronger every hour. He thought about his grandchildren. They lived on a core world. They had 11 days left to live. Send a message to Earth, he finally said. Gasps filled the chamber. And may the stars forgive us for what we are about to unleash. The communication officer's fingers trembled as she typed the coordinates. The message began its journey toward the one planet the galaxy swore never to disturb. Toward Earth. Toward humanity. The communications array powered up for the first time in 300 years. Every council member watched the main screen as the signal traveled through space, moving faster than light, heading toward the Forbidden Zone. Message sent. The officer confirmed. It will reach Earth in 4 hours. What if they refuse? Asked Representative KLRA. What if humans remember how we abandoned them? How we called them savages and locked them away? Nobody answered. The question hung in the air like poison. Zekdar pulled up his personal files. His hands moved across the holographic display until he found what he was looking for. A video file marked classified, Earth Forces, year 2347. I want you all to see something, he said, projecting the video on the main screen. The footage showed a human soldier, a young woman with short dark hair and tired eyes. She stood in the ruins of what used to be an alien city. Behind her, human medics were helping wounded alien civilians. Human engineers were rebuilding homes. This was taken during the final days of the Vrexno crisis. Zekdar explained. After we asked humans to leave and never come back. Watch what she says. In the video, someone asked the soldier, how do you feel about the Council's decision to quarantine your planet? The human soldier looked directly at the camera, exhausted but unbowed. We didn't come here for medals or membership. We came because people needed help. If they want us gone, fine. But if they ever need us again, we'll come back. Because that's what humans do. The video ended. Silence filled the chamber. Some council members looked ashamed. Others still looked afraid. She died 3 days after that recording. Zekdar said quietly. Saved a transport ship full of refugee children. She gave her life for people who weren't even her own species. Chancellor closed his eyes. Then let us hope humanity remembers their own words, because we need them now more than ever. On the main screen, the signal continued its journey toward Earth, the blue marble planet that everyone feared, the world full of humans who fought without honor, but somehow always fought for the right reasons. For hours until the message arrived. 11 days until the swarm reached the core worlds. The countdown had begun. Earth Defense Command, located deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, had been quiet for 300 years. The officers monitored space like they always did, but nothing ever happened. The galaxy had forgotten about them. Until today. "Sir, we're detecting an incoming signal," Lieutenant James Park said, staring at a screen in disbelief. "It's using old Galactic Council encryption codes." Commander Sarah Mitchell rushed to his station. Her gray hair was tied back tight. Her sharp eyes studied the data. "That's impossible. The Council hasn't contacted us in 3 centuries. "I'm reading the same thing," confirmed another officer. "The signal is authentic. It's marked as Priority Alpha, the highest emergency level." Sarah's hands hovered over the console. For 300 years, Earth had lived in isolation. Humans built their own ships, developed their own technology, created their own future. They stopped waiting for the galaxy to accept them. Now the galaxy was calling. "Decrypt it," Sarah ordered, "and wake up the president." The message decoded slowly. As the words appeared on screen, every officer in the room stopped breathing. They read in complete silence. The KRS swarm had returned. 47 systems destroyed. Billions dead. The galaxy was losing. They needed help. They needed humanity. "They want us to save them," Lieutenant Park whispered, "after they called us monsters and locked us away." Sarah felt old anger rise in her chest. She remembered the stories her grandfather told her, how human soldiers died protecting alien worlds, how Earth offered friendship and received fear in return, how the Council built a quarantine zone around their planet like they were a disease. "Get President Chin on the line," Sarah said coldly. "She needs to see this." Within minutes, the message reached every government leader on Earth. Emergency meetings started immediately. Military bases powered up systems that hadn't been used in centuries. Deep in the oceans, massive hidden shipyards began to wake. Across Earth, humanity faced a choice: help the galaxy that abandoned them, or let it burn. President Rebecca Chin stood in the Oval Office, reading the message for the 10th time. Outside her window, she could see normal people living normal lives. They didn't know the galaxy was dying. She pressed the Emergency Council button. "Gather everyone," she said firmly. "We have a decision to make." The sleeping giant was beginning to wake. The Emergency Council room filled quickly. President Chun sat at the head of the table. Around her sat Earth's most important leaders: military generals, scientists, diplomats. Each one had studied the Galactic Council's desperate message. General Marcus Cross spoke first. His voice was hard like steel. "Let them burn. They made their choice 300 years ago. They called us savages. They quarantined our entire planet. Now they want our help? No." Many people nodded in agreement. The pain of isolation ran deep in human history. "General, I understand your anger," said Ambassador Lu Wei. "But we're talking about trillions of innocent lives. Children, families, people who had nothing to do with the Council's decision centuries ago. Innocent." Marcus slammed his fist on the table. "Our soldiers were innocent too. They died protecting alien worlds. And what did we get? Exile. Shame. 300 years of being treated like criminals." Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, Earth's leading xenobiologist, pulled up holographic images. They showed the KRS swarm consuming a planet. The images were horrifying. This isn't about revenge. This is about survival. If the swarm destroys the galaxy, they won't stop at the quarantine zone. They'll come for Earth next. The room fell silent. She was right. President Chun had been listening carefully. She stood up and walked to the window. Show me the latest footage from the swarm attacks. The hologram changed. It showed a planet called Rexla Prime. Cities burning. Ships exploding in orbit. Millions of people trying to evacuate. Most didn't make it. The swarm consumed everything in hours. Chun watched a small alien child crying, holding her dead mother. The image froze there. That could be a human child, Chun said quietly. If we don't stop this now, it will be a human child. My question isn't whether they deserve our help. My question is, what kind of people are we? General Marcus looked at the frozen image. His jaw tightened. Despite his anger, he was still a soldier. He still remembered his oath to protect the innocent. If we do this, he said slowly, we do it our way. No council rules. No restrictions. We fight to win. Chin nodded. Agreed. Dr. Okonkwo, what we know about the swarm? Not enough, she admitted. But we're about to learn. President Chin made her decision. Sent a response to the Galactic Council. President Chin ordered, tell them we accept. Humanity will join the fight. The communication officer's fingers flew across the keyboard. Within seconds, the message transmitted toward Council space. Earth's answer was traveling to a galaxy that had forgotten them. But Chin wasn't done. General Cross, activate Protocol Omega. Everyone in the room turned to stare. Protocol Omega was Earth's most classified military program. For 300 years, humanity had prepared for one thing: the possibility that the galaxy might attack them. They built weapons in secret, trained soldiers in advanced combat, developed technology the Council had never seen. Now, all that preparation would serve a different purpose. Are you sure, Madam President? Marcus asked. Once we reveal what we built, there's no going back. The galaxy will know we're more advanced than they thought. They'll find out anyway, Chin replied. Let's make sure they see it while we're saving their lives. Marcus smiled for the first time. I'll gather the fleet admirals. Across Earth, silent orders went out. In the Pacific Ocean, massive doors opened on the seafloor. Enormous ships rose from hidden underwater bases. They were sleek, dark, and covered in weapons the galaxy had never imagined. In the Nevada desert, underground hangars opened. Fighter craft lifted into the sky, each one piloted by warriors who had trained their entire lives for combat they thought would never come. In orbit around the moon, construction yards that appeared abandoned suddenly blazed with activity. Crews of engineers worked around the clock, preparing Earth's secret weapons. Admiral Kenji Yamamoto stood on the bridge of the ESS Redemption, Earth's largest warship. He was 70 years old, but looked 40. Advanced medicine kept soldiers fighting longer. His eyes studied the tactical displays, showing the gathering fleet. How many ships do we have ready? He asked his first officer. 247 capital ships, sir. 600 destroyers. Over 3,000 fighter craft. And the special weapons are loaded. Kenji nodded slowly. Not bad for a species everyone thought was primitive. Sir, incoming transmission from President Chan. The president's face appeared on screen. Admiral, you have full command of Earth's military forces. Your mission is simple. Stop the swarm. Save the galaxy. Show them what humanity can do. Understood, Madam President. We won't let you down. I know you won't. Good hunting, Admiral. The transmission ended. Admiral Yamamoto stood alone on the observation deck. Through the massive window, he watched Earth's fleet assemble. Hundreds of ships positioned themselves in perfect formation. Each one carried thousands of soldiers ready to fight for a galaxy that had rejected them. His second-in-command, Captain Maria Rodriguez, approached quietly. The crew is asking questions, sir. They want to know why we're helping the aliens who abandoned us. Kenji didn't turn around. He kept watching the ships. What did you tell them? I told them to trust you, sir. But I'd like to know the answer, too. Kenji finally faced her. His expression was serious, but calm. 300 years ago, my great-great-grandfather fought in the Vrexno crisis. He watched his friends die protecting alien civilians. When the Council exiled Earth, he was angry. Bitter, he felt betrayed. So, why did he support building this fleet? Maria asked, because he said something I never forgot. He told me, we don't help people because they deserve it. We help them because they need it. That's what separates us from monsters. Maria was quiet for a moment. The Galactic Council called us monsters. They were wrong, Kenji said firmly, and we're about to prove it. The communication system activated. All ships report ready, Admiral. Hyperspace coordinates locked. Destination: Contested Zone Gamma, 12 light years from Council space. Kenji walked to his command chair and sat down. Around him, the bridge crew took their positions. Young faces, determined faces, humans ready to fight for strangers. Before we jump, Kenji announced to the entire fleet, I want everyone to understand something. We're not going there for glory. We're not going for revenge. We're going because people are dying, and we have the power to stop it. He paused, letting his words sink in. The galaxy fears us. They think we're brutal, savage, without honor. Maybe they're right. We don't fight like them. We fight to win. We fight to end wars quickly, because every day a war continues, more innocent people die. His voice grew stronger. So yes, we'll be brutal. We'll be savage. Because the swarm understands nothing else. And when this is over, when we've saved trillions of lives, the galaxy can decide if we're monsters or heroes. I don't care which they choose. All ships, he commanded, jump to hyperspace. Let's go save the galaxy. Space rippled. Reality bent. Earth's fleet vanished in flashes of light. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Contested Zone Gamma. What they saw made even experienced soldiers pause. The space around them was filled with wreckage. Thousands of destroyed alien ships drifted like broken toys. Some were still burning. Others were torn completely apart. Bodies floated among the debris. My God, whispered Lieutenant Chun from the sensor station. There must be 50,000 dead ships here. Focus, Admiral Yamamoto ordered. Where's the active battle? Detecting massive energy signatures 3 million kilometers ahead. Sir, it's the swarm. They're attacking what's left of the Valerian Defense Fleet. On the main screen, the battle appeared. 30 alien warships tried desperately to hold their position against hundreds of swarm bio ships. The swarm vessels looked alive, like giant insects made of dark metal and pulsing flesh. They moved in perfect coordination, overwhelming the defenders. The Valerian fleet won't last 10 minutes, Captain Rodriguez reported. They're fighting retreat, but the swarm is faster. Admiral Yamamoto studied the tactical display. The swarm's attack pattern was efficient but predictable. They surrounded their targets, cut off escape routes, then consumed everything. It worked because most species fought in organized formations with predictable tactics. Humans didn't. All ships break formation, Kenji ordered. Switch to Wolfpack protocol. The human fleet scattered in every direction. To alien observers watching from the dying Valerian ships, it looked like chaos. Like the humans didn't know what they were doing. That was exactly the point. Destroyers Alpha through Delta hit them from above. Cruisers attack their flanks. Fighters go for their communication nodes. Capital ships with me were going straight through their center. Sir, that's suicide, an officer protested. No, Kenji smiled coldly. That's how humans fight. The swarm detected the human fleet and immediately changed targets. Hundreds of bioships turned toward Earth's forces. They expected another easy victory. They were wrong. Human destroyers came from angles the swarm didn't expect. Human fighters moved too fast, too unpredictably. The swarm tried to adapt, tried to learn the pattern. There was no pattern to learn. Fire everything, Yamamoto commanded. Earth's weapons lit up the darkness. Advanced railguns, plasma torpedoes, energy beams that cut through swarm bio ships like paper. In seconds, 50 swarm vessels exploded. The alien Valerian commanders watched in shock. What were they doing? A human voice came over their communication channel. This is Admiral Yamamoto of Earth Defense Force. Stay behind us. We'll handle this. The swarm had conquered 47 star systems without losing a single major battle. Their bio ships were perfect killing machines. They learned from every fight. They adapted to every weapon. They never made the same mistake twice. But they had never fought humans before. "Target the big one in the center," Admiral Yamamoto ordered, pointing at a massive swarm vessel. It was 3 times larger than his flagship, covered in pulsing organic armor and dozens of weapon ports. "Sir, our scans show that ship has adapted to plasma weapons, kinetic weapons, and energy beams. Nothing the aliens used could penetrate its hull," Lieutenant Chin warned. Kenji smiled. "Then we won't use any of those things. Fire the Hellfire missiles." "Hellfire missiles armed and ready, sir." The missiles launched from the ESS Redemption. They weren't sophisticated. They didn't use advanced alien technology. They were simple, brutal, and effective. Each missile carried a payload of superheated thermite that burned at temperatures no organic material could survive. The swarm ship tried to defend itself. Its bio-armor shifted and changed, preparing to absorb the impact like it had done 1,000 times before. The missiles hit. Thermite exploded across the swarm vessel's hull. The creature ship screamed, a horrible sound that transmitted through space itself. Its organic armor began to melt. Fire spread across its surface faster than it could adapt. Within 30 seconds, the massive swarm ship was nothing but burning wreckage. "One down," Captain Rodriguez announced. "Swarm fleet is breaking formation. They're confused." The remaining swarm ships hesitated. Their hive mind was processing new information. This enemy was different. These weapons were different. They needed time to adapt. Humans didn't give them time. "All ships full assault," Yamamoto commanded. "Don't let them think. Don't let them learn. Hit them fast, hit them hard, hit them everywhere." Earth's fleet attacked from every direction at once. Destroyers came from above. Cruisers struck from the sides. Fighters weaved through the swarm formation like angry wasps, targeting weak points and communication nodes. The Valerian alien commanders watched from their damaged ships. They had fought the swarm for 3 weeks and barely survived. Now they watched humans tear through the enemy in minutes. "How are they doing this?" whispered Commander Vexnor, his voice filled with awe and fear. His tactical officers stared at the display. "They're not following any known combat doctrine. They're just attacking. No formation. No pattern. Pure chaos." "Not chaos," Vexnor corrected, finally understanding. "Creativity. The swarm can adapt because there's nothing to adapt to." The swarm's hive mind was in distress. For the first time in 1,000 years, it faced an enemy it couldn't understand. Every previous species fought with order, with formations, with predictable patterns. Humans fought with controlled madness. "Captain Rodriguez, take your squadron and fake a retreat," Admiral Yamamoto ordered. "Make them think you're running scared." Maria understood immediately. "You want to bait them?" "Exactly. Let's see if these bugs are hungry enough to chase." Rodriguez's 10 destroyers suddenly broke away from the battle, engines firing at full speed. They transmitted distress signals, making it look like they were damaged and fleeing. The swarm took the bait. 50 bioships broke formation and pursued, thinking they had found easy prey. "They're following us, Admiral," Rodriguez reported, leading them to coordinates Delta 7. "Perfect. All ships, hold position and power down weapons. Look harmless." At coordinates Delta 7, 20 human cruisers waited in complete silence. Their engines were off. Their weapons were cold. To the swarm sensors, they looked like abandoned wrecks floating in space. The swarm ships chased Rodriguez's destroyers right into the trap. "Now!" Yamamoto shouted. The 20 cruisers powered up instantly. Weapons fired at point-blank range. The swarm ships, packed tightly together while chasing their prey, had no room to maneuver. They crashed into each other, trying to escape. In 45 seconds, all 50 swarm vessels were destroyed. "That's called an ambush," Rodriguez said with satisfaction. "Welcome to human warfare." But the swarm was learning. The remaining bioships stopped pursuing individual targets. They began to group together, forming a defensive sphere. Their hive mind was adapting, becoming more cautious. "They're getting smarter," Lieutenant Chin observed. They won't fall for the same trick twice. Good, Kenji replied. Then we'll use a different trick. He opened a channel to his fighter squadrons. Go Squadron, you're up. Show them what fear looks like. 50 human fighters detached from the main fleet, but these weren't normal fighters. They were covered in experimental stealth technology. On swarm sensors, they simply disappeared. The swarm ships detected nothing. No targets. No threats. Just empty space. Then the fighters opened fire from positions the swarm never saw coming. Missiles appeared from nowhere. Energy beams struck from impossible angles. The swarm's hive mind experienced something new, uncertainty. They couldn't see the enemy, couldn't predict the attacks, couldn't adapt to threats they couldn't detect. For the first time in 1,000 years, the KRS swarm felt something close to fear. The swarm wasn't just a mindless force. It was intelligent, ancient. It had survived for millions of years by learning from every battle, every species, every defeat. And it was learning from humans now. Sir, swarm ships are changing their behavior. Lieutenant Chun reported urgently. They're spreading out, moving unpredictably. They're copying our tactics. Admiral Yamamoto watched the display. The swarm vessels no longer moved in perfect formation. They scattered randomly, attacked from different angles, used feints and false retreats. Smart bugs, he muttered. They're learning to fight like us. Admiral, if they can copy our tactics and they're still stronger than us in numbers, we're in trouble, Captain Rodriguez said. She was right. The human fleet had 247 capital ships. The swarm still had over 400 bio ships in this battle zone alone. If they learned to fight with human creativity plus their superior numbers, Earth's forces would lose. Then we need to do something they can't copy, Kenji said. He pulled up the tactical map and studied it carefully. Something that requires human emotion, human sacrifice, something no hive mind would ever understand. He found what he was looking for. The swarm's main command ship sat at the center of their fleet, protected by layers of smaller vessels. That ship controlled the local hive mind. Destroy it, and the other ships would become confused. But getting to it was suicide. I need volunteers. Yamamoto announced to the entire fleet. 10 ships for a suicide run directly at the swarm command vessel. We probably won't survive, but if we succeed, we can end this battle. Silence filled the communication channel. Then, one by one, captains began to respond. ESS Phoenix volunteering, sir. ESS Dragon ready to go, Admiral. ESS Liberty reporting. Let's finish this. Within 2 minutes, 50 ships had volunteered. Not 10. 50 captains willing to die to protect the others. Admiral Yamamoto felt pride swell in his chest. I only need 10. The rest of you, I need alive to finish the war. With respect, sir, said Captain Liu of the ESS Phoenix, you can't stop us all from following you. That's the thing about humans. We choose our own battles. The swarm's hive mind couldn't understand this, couldn't adapt to this. Individual choice, personal sacrifice. These were concepts completely alien to their existence. All volunteers, Kenji said quietly. Form up on my position. Let's show them what he meant. The moment the command ship died, something strange happened to the swarm fleet. The remaining bio ships stopped moving. They drifted in space, completely motionless, like puppets whose strings have been cut. Sir, swarm vessels are showing no activity. Lieutenant Chin reported, disbelief in her voice. No weapons fire. No engines. They're just floating. Admiral Yamamoto stood on his damaged bridge, watching the displays. Of the 50 ships that volunteered for Suicide Run, only 4 survived. His flagship was one of them, but barely. Life support was failing. Half his crew was dead or wounded. Did we win? Captain Rodriguez asked quietly. She had a deep cut across her forehead. Blood ran down her face. We won this battle, Kenji said, but the war isn't over. Across the battlefield, the Valerian fleet cautiously approached. Commander Vex Nor's face appeared on the communication screen. His expression showed complete shock. Admiral Yamamoto, he said slowly, I have fought in 37 battles over my lifetime. I have seen every tactic, every strategy, every form of warfare known to the galaxy. But I have never seen anything like what you just did. We call it sacrifice, Kenji replied simply. Something your galaxy seems to have forgotten. Vexnor looked away, ashamed. 46 of your ships were destroyed. Thousands of your people died. For aliens who exiled you. Why? Yamamoto was quiet for a moment. He thought about Captain Lou of the Phoenix, who volunteered first, about Commander Sarah Drake of the Liberty, who rammed her ship into 3 swarm vessels to clear the path, about all the humans who chose death so others could live. Because they were right, he finally said, 300 years ago, your council said we were too brutal, too violent, too willing to sacrifice. They weren't wrong about that. We are brutal. We are violent. We do sacrifice. He looked directly at Vexnor. But we're brutal to our enemies, not innocent people. We're violent against threats, not the helpless. And we sacrifice ourselves, not others. That's the difference you never understood. Vexnor had no response. How many swarm fleets are left? Yamamoto asked. Our intelligence says there are at least 50 more fleet groups like this one, scattered across the war zone. 50 more battles. 50 more chances to die. Then we'd better get started, Kenji said. Lieutenant, signal the rest of our fleet. Tell them we're moving to the next combat zone. 3 days after the first battle, Admiral Yamamoto stood in the war room aboard his damaged flagship. Around him sat Earth's best tactical minds. They had won 5 battles against the swarm, but the victories came at a terrible cost. Earth's fleet was down to 170 ships. Over 15,000 soldiers had died, and the swarm kept coming. Show me the intelligence report, Kenji ordered. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, Earth's leading xenobiologist, activated the holographic display. It showed a massive structure deep in swarm territory. The image made everyone in the room feel cold. This is the Swarm Queen's hive, she explained. It's located in the Omega Nebula, protected by over 10,000 bioships. The Queen controls the entire swarm through a neural network. She is the brain. Every ship, every creature, every attack comes from her. If we destroy the Queen, Admiral Yamamoto said slowly, the entire swarm dies. Correct, but it's impossible to reach her. The nebula is too dense for large ships. Our fleet can't get through. And even if we could, 10,000 swarm vessels would destroy us before we got close. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood what this meant. They could win 100 battles, and it wouldn't matter. The Queen would just keep making more bioships. More weapons. More soldiers. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward. What if we don't use the fleet? What if we send a small team? A small team? Dr. Okonkwo looked skeptical. Through 10,000 enemy ships? That's suicide. Everything we do is suicide, Maria replied. That's why we're good at it. Kenji studied the holographic image carefully. His tactical mind was already forming a plan. A crazy, dangerous, probably impossible plan. We use a captured swarm bioship, he said. We hollow out, fill it with our soldiers, and let the swarm pull us inside like a Trojan horse. The room erupted in protests. That's insane. We'd be surrounded by enemy forces. The odds of survival are 0. Exactly, Yamamoto said quietly, and everyone stopped talking. The swarm thinks we're predictable now. They think they understand human tactics. So we do something they'd never expect. We go inside their territory willingly. We become the weapon. He looked around the room. I need 50 volunteers. Special forces only. Combat specialists who can fight in close quarters. Once we're inside, there's no extraction. No rescue. We either kill the Queen or we die trying. Captain Rodriguez stood up immediately. I volunteer. Maria, you're second in command of the fleet. You're needed here. With respect, sir, you're first in command and you're going. So I'm going too. Within 6 hours, Admiral Yamamoto had his team. 50 of Earth's most elite soldiers volunteered for the mission. Each one knew they probably wouldn't come home. None of them cared. Among the volunteers was Sergeant David Chun, a demolition expert who had fought in 12 battles, Private Maria Santos, a medic who had saved hundreds of lives, Lieutenant John Park, a hacker who could break any computer system, and Captain Rodriguez, who refused to let her admiral go alone. They gathered in the cargo bay where a captured swarm bio ship sat. It looked like a giant insect made of metal and flesh. The creature was dead, but its body was still intact. "This is our ride," Yamamoto explained, walking around the alien vessel. "Engineering teams have hollowed out the interior. We'll hide inside, sealed in a shielded compartment. To swarm sensors, it will look like one of their damaged ships returning home. And once we're inside their territory," Sergeant Chen asked, "we wait until the ship docks with the Queen's hive. Then we cut our way out and fight through whatever's between us and the target." Dr. Okonkwo has identified the Queen's chamber. It's approximately 8 kilometers from the docking bay. 8 kilometers through enemy territory, Private Santos whispered, with 50 soldiers. 49 soldiers and 1 admiral, Rodriguez corrected with a slight smile. The team began loading equipment, weapons, explosives, medical supplies, everything they needed for a mission they probably wouldn't survive. A young private named James Wilson approached Yamamoto nervously. "Sir, can I ask you something?" "Go ahead, soldier." "Why are we doing this? I mean, really, the galaxy abandoned us. They called us monsters. My grandfather died in the Vrexnol crisis, and they thanked him by exiling Earth. Why should we die for them?" Kenji looked at the young man for a long moment. Then he pulled up a holographic image on his datapad. It showed a refugee camp on an alien world. Thousands of families, different species, all huddled together. Children playing in the dirt. Parents holding their babies. "See that little girl there?" Kenji pointed to a small alien child, maybe 6 years old. "She doesn't know about the Council's decisions. She doesn't know about politics or exile. She just knows she's scared and hungry." He closed the datapad. "We're not doing this for the Council, Private. We're doing this for her. Because if we don't, she dies. And I won't let that happen." Private Wilson nodded slowly, understanding now. "Everyone load up," Yamamoto ordered. "We launch in 1 hour." The modified swarm bio ship drifted through space, looking damaged and harmless. Inside its hollowed body, 50 human soldiers sat in complete darkness. They couldn't use lights, couldn't make noise. The swarm had to believe this was just another wounded vessel returning home. Status report. Admiral Yamamoto whispered into his radio. "Approaching Omega Nebula perimeter." Lieutenant Park replied, monitoring the bio-ship sensors. "Detecting massive swarm presence. Over 9,000 vessels in our immediate area." Captain Rodriguez felt her heart racing. 9,000 enemy ships. If even one of them scanned too carefully, the humans would be discovered. Then they would die, trapped inside this alien corpse with no escape. "Swarm patrol approaching," Park warned. 3 bio-ships. "They're scanning us." Everyone held their breath. The soldiers gripped their weapons tighter. If they were discovered now, the mission ended before it began. The swarm ships circled their vessel like sharks around wounded prey. Seconds felt like hours. The scanning beams passed over the bio-ship's hull. Then the swarm ships moved away. "They bought it," Park breathed in relief. "We're clear." The bio-ship continued its journey deeper into swarm territory. Through the hull sensors, the humans could see hundreds of enemy vessels moving in perfect coordination. Some were damaged from recent battles. Others were being grown, new bio-ships forming from organic material harvested from conquered planets. "This is horrible," whispered Private Santos. "They're making ships from living creatures." "Stay focused," Yamamoto ordered quietly. "Remember the mission." Hours passed in tense silence. Finally, Lieutenant Park spoke. "We're approaching the Queen's hive. It's enormous, bigger than anything in our database." Through the external sensors, they caught glimpses of a structure. It was the size of a small moon, built from organic material that pulsed with bioelectrical energy. Thousands of swarm ships moved around it like bees around their hive. Docking procedures initiated, Park reported. The hive is pulling us in with tractor beams. The bio-ship shuddered as something grabbed it from outside. They felt movement, the sensation of being dragged through narrow passages. Strange sounds echoed through the hull. Alien sounds. Swarm sounds. We're inside the hive, Park confirmed. Docking complete. Yamamoto activated his suit's communication system. All teams, prepare for breach. Once we cut our way out, there's no turning back. Remember your training. Stay together. Watch your corners. And if you see the queen, you kill her. He pulled out his plasma cutter. Let's go hunting. The plasma cutter burned through the bio-ship's hull. Sergeant Chin worked carefully, creating an exit point that wouldn't trigger immediate alarms. When the hole was large enough, Yamamoto peered through. The docking bay was massive, filled with damaged swarm vessels being repaired by smaller drone creatures. Organic tubes connected everything, pumping fluids that glowed with strange colors. The air smelled like decay and chemicals. I see 12 drones, Yamamoto whispered. No major threats. We go silent. Knives only. Captain Rodriguez nodded. She drew her combat knife, its blade coated with anti-organic acid. The team moved out in perfect silence. Shadows and alien structure. The first drone never knew what hit it. Rodriguez's knife cut through its neural cluster in one strike. Around the bay, the other human soldiers eliminated threats with brutal efficiency. In 30 seconds, all 12 drones were dead. Clear, Sergeant Chin reported, checking the map. Dr. Okonkwo had provided them with a rough layout based on swarm biology. The Queen's chamber should be 8 kilometers deeper into the hive, protected by layers of security and warrior drones. We move in teams of 5. Yamamoto ordered, stay low, stay quiet. If you're discovered, don't try to fight everything. Fall back to the rally point. The 50 soldiers divided into 10 teams. They moved into the hive's corridors, which were made of living tissue that breathed and pulsed. The walls occasionally oozed fluids. The floor felt soft and wrong under their boots. Private Santos tried not to think about the fact that they were inside a living creature. Focus on the mission, she told herself. Just the mission. They traveled through the hive for 20 minutes without encountering resistance. The corridors branched in every direction. Some led to chambers where new bioships were being grown. Others led to storage areas filled with organic material harvested from destroyed planets. Then they heard it, a sound like metal scraping against stone, getting closer. Contact, Lieutenant Park hissed. Multiple signatures. Warrior forms. Around the corner came creatures that made the soldiers' blood run cold. They were 3 meters tall, covered in dark armor, with blade-like appendages and glowing red eyes. Swarm warriors, the Queen's personal guards. So much for stealth, Rodriguez muttered. All teams weapons free, Yamamoto ordered. Engage! The warriors charged. The humans opened fire. In the narrow corridors of the alien hive, the real battle began. The corridor erupted in chaos. Plasma fire lit up the organic walls. Swarm warriors moved with terrifying speed, their blade arms slashing at anything human. Soldiers screamed. Blood mixed with alien fluids on the breathing floor. Grenades! Sergeant Chin shouted. He threw an explosive that stuck to a warrior's chest. The detonation tore the creature apart and damaged 2 others. But more warriors kept coming. The narrow corridors became a nightmare of close combat. Private Santos dragged a wounded soldier to cover while firing her rifle one-handed. Lieutenant Park hacked into a nearby control node, trying to seal the corridors behind them. We can't stay here. Rodriguez shouted over the gunfire. We're getting surrounded. Yamamoto made a quick decision. Teams Alpha through Delta, hold this position. Everyone else, push forward. We split their attention. 25 soldiers stayed to fight. The other 25, led by Yamamoto and Rodriguez, ran deeper into the hive. Behind them, they heard explosions and screams as their friends bought them time with their lives. The Queen's chamber is close, Yamamoto said, checking a scanner. 2 more kilometers. They ran through corridors that seemed to get narrower, more organic. The walls pulsed faster, as if the hive knew intruders were approaching at heart. More warriors appeared. Captain Rodriguez shot 3 of them before her rifle overheated. She switched her knife, ducking under a blade arm and stabbing upward into the creature's weak point. It died with a horrible shriek. "Door ahead," someone shouted. They reached a massive circular doorway made of hardened biomaterial. It was sealed tight. Behind them, they could hear more warriors approaching. "Chun, blow it open." Yamamoto ordered. The demolition expert placed charges around the door's edge. "Everyone back. This is going to be loud." The explosion shook the entire corridor. When the smoke cleared, the door had a hole just large enough to climb through. "Go, go, go." Rodriguez pushed soldiers through the opening. As Yamamoto climbed through, he looked back. The corridor was filled with warriors, dozens of them, all running toward the human's position. He pulled the pin on his last grenade and threw it. Then he dove through the hole just as the explosion collapsed the corridor behind him. They were through. But when he looked around, his heart sank. Only 12 soldiers had made it. 12 out of 50. And ahead of them, in a chamber the size of a football stadium, sat the Swarm Queen. The chamber was massive beyond imagination. The ceiling stretched hundreds of meters high, covered in pulsing veins that glowed with bioelectrical energy. Strange organic structures hung from above like alien stalactites, dripping unknown fluids. And in the center of it all sat the Queen. She was enormous. Her body was the size of a building, covered in armor like chitin that shimmered with dark colors. Thousands of tubes connected her to the hive, feeding her information from across the galaxy. Her face, if it could be called that, had dozens of eyes that glowed with ancient intelligence. "My God," Private Santos whispered. "She's beautiful and horrible at the same time." Admiral Yamamoto raised his rifle. Beside him, only 11 soldiers remained. 12 humans against a creature that commanded billions. The odds were impossible. But humans specialize in the impossible. "Spread out," Kenji ordered quietly. "Find cover. We need to locate her weak point before we attack." The soldiers moved silently across the chamber floor. The Queen hadn't noticed them yet. She was focused on something else, her consciousness controlling thousands of battles across the galaxy simultaneously. Captain Rodriguez crouched behind an organic pillar. "Sir, I count 6 neural connection points on her body. Those tubes connecting her to Hive. If we sever them all at once, we might disrupt her control." "Lieutenant Park," Yamamoto called softly. "Can you hack into those connections? Maybe use them against her?" Park pulled out his portable computer. His fingers flew across the keyboard. "Maybe. The system is biological, but it uses electrical signals. If I can inject a virus through one connection point, it might spread to the others." "How long do you need?" 5 minutes. Maybe less." "You'll have it. Everyone else, prepare defensive positions. When we start this, every warrior in the hive will come for us." Sergeant Chin checked his remaining explosives. "I've got 3 charges left. Not enough to bring down something that big." "We don't need to destroy her," Yamamoto said. "We just need to kill her. And everything that lives can die." Suddenly, the Queen's massive head turned. Her dozens of eyes focused on the humans hiding in her chamber. A voice filled their minds, terrible and cold, speaking without sound. "Humans, the species everyone fears. You came to my home. You killed my children. Now you will die." "Well," Rodriguez muttered, raising her weapon. She noticed us. The chamber's walls suddenly burst open. Hundreds of swarm warriors poured in from every direction. "Open fire," Yamamoto shouted. The final battle had begun. Plasma fire lit up the chamber. The 12 human soldiers fought like demons, each one covering the others. They had trained together for years. They knew how each other moved, thought, fought. Private Santos fired her rifle in controlled bursts, dropping warriors one after another. When one got too close, she switched her knife, driving it into the creature's throat. "Chun, left side." Sergeant Chin spun and threw his last grenade. The explosion tore through 5 warriors at once. I'm out of explosives. Then use your rifle. Rodriguez shouted back. She was fighting 3 warriors simultaneously, her movements a blur of deadly precision. Lieutenant Park never stopped typing on his computer. Bullets flew past his head. Warriors charged toward his position. He didn't look up from his screen. He had a job to do. Park, status. Yamamoto yelled, while shooting a warrior that tried to jump on Lieutenant. Almost there, 30 seconds. Admiral Yamamoto stood in front of Park, creating a wall between his hacker and the enemy. He fired until his rifle overheated, then drew his pistol. When that ran empty, he used his knife. A warrior's blade arm slashed across his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body, but he didn't stop fighting. Admiral's hit. Santo screamed. She abandoned her position to reach him, her medical training taking over. Stay where you are. Kenji ordered. I'm fine. Protect Park. But he wasn't fine. Blood ran down his arm. His vision blurred. He was 69 years old, too old for this kind of fighting. But he wouldn't stop. Couldn't stop. The Queen watched from her throne, amused. You fight well for such small creatures. But you are 12. My warriors are thousands. You cannot win. We don't need to win, Yamamoto said through gritted teeth. We just need to last long enough. Done. Park shouted suddenly. Virus uploaded. Activating now. He pressed enter. The effect was immediate. The Queen's body convulsed. Her eyes flickered. The neural tubes connecting her to Hive began to glow with strange colors as Park's virus spread through the system. What? What have you done? I injected a frequency disruptor into your neural network. Park explained calmly. In about 30 seconds, your connection to every swarm ship in the galaxy will sever. You'll be alone, just another dying creature. The Queen screamed. It was a sound that made the walls shake. Her warriors stopped attacking humans and turned toward her, confused, their connection to the hive mind weakening. Now, Yamamoto ordered. Kill her. Kill her now. The 12 soldiers charged forward as one. They ran across the chamber floor, while the confused warriors stumbled around them. The virus was working, disrupting the hive mind's control. Target the neural connection points. Rodriguez shouted. She fired at the massive tubes connecting the Queen to her hive. The first tube exploded in a shower of bioelectrical energy. Sergeant Chun fired at the second connection. It severed completely, spraying fluids across the chamber floor. The Queen thrashed violently. No, you cannot do this. I am eternal. I am evolution. You're just another monster, Yamamoto replied coldly. He aimed at the third connection point and fired. Direct hit. Private Santos and 2 other soldiers concentrated fire on the fourth connection. The tube resisted at first, its organic armor absorbing the plasma rounds. Then it burst apart. 2 connections remained. The Queen, desperate now, released a pulse of bioelectrical energy. The blast threw soldiers backward. 3 of them didn't get up. They lay still on the floor, their bodies smoking. 9 soldiers left. We're running out of ammunition, one soldier shouted. Then we use what we have left. Rodriguez ordered. She fired her last magazine into the 5th connection point. It took every bullet she had, but finally the tube ruptured. 1 connection remained. The final link between the Queen and her galaxy-spanning empire. But the remaining soldiers were out of ammunition. Their rifles clicked empty. Their pistols had no more bullets. The Queen laughed, a horrible sound that echoed through the chamber. You failed. You have no weapons left. And my warriors are recovering. You will die here. Admiral Yamamoto looked at his team. 9 exhausted, wounded, desperate soldiers who had given everything for this mission. He thought about the 41 friends who died getting them this far. Then he looked at the final neural connection. It was 50 meters away, heavily armored, impossible to destroy without explosives or heavy weapons, which is why he was carrying a nuclear device strapped to his chest. He had been carrying it since the mission began. A small tactical nuke, powerful enough to vaporize everything within 200 meters, including himself. Rodriguez, he said quietly, Maria's eyes went wide as she understood. No. Sir, no. There has to be another way. There isn't. You know there isn't. He handed her his command codes. You're in charge now, Captain. Get the team out of here. Admiral, please. That's an order. He began walking toward the final connection point. Admiral, stop. Sergeant Chin shouted. We can find another way. But Kenji kept walking. His shoulder ached from the wound. Blood soaked his uniform. Each step was painful, but his determination never wavered. Behind him, the swarm warriors were recovering. They shook off the virus's effects and began moving toward the humans again. In seconds, they would attack. Rodriguez, get them out. Yamamoto ordered without turning around. That's your final order from me. Get them home. Captain Maria Rodriguez felt tears on her face. She had served with this man for 15 years. He was more than her commander. He was her mentor, her friend. It's been an honor, sir, she said, her voice breaking. The honor was mine, Captain. Now go. Rodriguez turned to the remaining 8 soldiers. Fall back. Emergency extraction. Move. They ran toward the hole they had entered through. Behind them, they heard swarm warriors charging. But the creatures weren't focused on the escaping humans anymore. They were trying to reach Yamamoto to stop him from reaching that final connection. They wouldn't make it in time. Admiral Kenji Yamamoto reached the last neural tube. It pulsed with energy, thick as a tree trunk, connecting the Queen to billions of bioships across the galaxy. He placed his hand on the nuclear device on his chest. You fool! The Queen's voice thundered in his mind. You sacrificed yourself for a galaxy that exiled you, for aliens who called you monster. Why? Kenji looked up at her massive form. Because that little girl in the refugee camp doesn't care about politics. She just wants to live. And I won't let you take that from her. The Queen was silent for a moment. I do not understand humans. I know, Kenji said softly. That's why you lose. He pressed the detonation button. For Earth, he whispered. The nuclear device armed itself. 5 seconds until detonation. The Queen screamed. The warriors charged. Captain Rodriguez and her team reached the exit. She looked back one final time and saw Admiral Yamamoto standing tall, facing the oncoming horde without fear. 3 seconds. Get clear. Rodriguez shouted, pushing her team through the hole. 2 seconds. Yamamoto closed his eyes and thought of Earth, of home, of the blue planet he would never see again. 1 second. The explosion tore through the chamber like the birth of a new sun. The blast vaporized the Queen, the warriors, everything within 300 meters. The neural connection severed. And across the galaxy, billions of swarm ships suddenly went silent. Captain Maria Rodriguez felt the explosion to the walls of the hive. The entire structure shook violently. Organic material began to collapse around them. The hive was dying with its queen. Run, she screamed. The whole place is coming down. The 8 survivors sprinted through corridors that were falling apart. Chunks of biomaterial crashed down around them. The walls stopped breathing. The pulsing lights flickered and died. Private Santos grabbed Sergeant Chun when he stumbled. Keep moving. We're almost there. They burst into the docking bay where their hidden bioship waited. Lieutenant Park jumped into the pilot's seat and fired up the engines. The others climbed aboard as the bay began to collapse. Go! 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 Rodriguez shouted. The bioship launched just as the ceiling caved in. They flew through narrow passages that were self-destructing. Behind them, the massive hive structure was imploding, falling in on itself like a dying star. They burst out of the hive and into open space. What they saw made them stop breathing. Thousands of swarm ships floated motionless in space. Dead, powerless, like the bioship they had used to infiltrate. All of them had simply stopped working when the Queen died. Lieutenant Park to Earth Fleet, Park transmitted. Mission successful. The Queen is dead. Repeat, the Queen is dead. Silence. Then Admiral Chen's voice came over the radio, filled with emotion. Confirmed. We're seeing across all sectors. Every swarm vessel has gone dark. You did it. You actually did it. Admiral Yamamoto did it, Rodriguez corrected quietly. Where are the other team members? Another long silence. Rodriguez already knew the answer. Captain Rodriguez, of the 50 soldiers who entered the hive, you are the only survivors. I'm sorry. Rodriguez closed her eyes. 42 friends gone. 42 heroes who would never come home. The 8 survivors sat in silence as their ship headed back to the fleet. They had won. The galaxy was saved. Trillions of lives had been protected, but the victory felt hollow. He saved us all, Private Santos whispered. Admiral Yamamoto saved the entire galaxy. They all did, Rodriguez said, her voice strong despite her tears. Every single soldier who died today. They're heroes. All of them. Through the viewport, she could see Earth's fleet in the distance. Ships that fought alongside them. Humans who had refused to let the galaxy die. Take us home, Lieutenant, she ordered. We need to tell Earth what happened here. We need to make sure no one ever forgets what these people sacrificed. 6 months had passed since the Swarm War ended. Captain Maria Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching the planet below. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Home looked peaceful, but she knew the scars of war ran deep. Earth had lost 70,000 soldiers. Entire families destroyed. Cities mourning their dead. The victory parades felt wrong to Rodriguez. People celebrated, but all she could see were the empty chairs at dinner tables. Captain Rodriguez? A young officer approached nervously. The Galactic Council delegation has arrived. They're requesting to meet with you. Maria turned from the window. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. She walked through the station's corridors, passing memorial walls covered with names. So many names. She stopped at one section and touched a specific name engraved in steel. Admiral Kenji Yamamoto. We did it, sir, she whispered. The galaxy is safe. I hope that's enough. The conference room was filled with alien representatives. Commander Vexnor of the Valerian Empire stood when she entered. His face showed respect. Something humans had never seen from the galaxy before. Captain Rodriguez, he said formally, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I am here to offer humanity full membership. No restrictions. No quarantine. Equal status with all other species. The other human officials in the room celebrated quietly. This was what Earth had wanted for 300 years. Recognition, acceptance, respect. But Maria didn't smile. Is that all? She asked coldly. Vexnor looked confused. Captain, this is a great honor. Your species will have voting rights, trade agreements, access to all galactic resources. What more could you want? An apology. The room fell silent. 300 years ago, Maria continued, her voice hard as steel, humans died protecting your worlds. We asked for nothing except friendship. Instead, you called us monsters and locked us away. 70,000 of my people just died saving you again. And all you offer is membership. Vexnor's face showed shame. He lowered his eyes. You are right. We were wrong. We were afraid of you, and that fear made us cruel. I cannot undo 300 years of injustice. But I can say this. I am sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. He wasn't alone. Other alien delegates stepped forward, one by one, offering their own apologies. Some had tears in their eyes. Others simply bowed their heads in respect. Maria felt some of her anger fade. These weren't the same leaders who had exiled Earth. These were people who had watched humans sacrifice everything for strangers. Apology accepted, she said finally. Now, let's talk about the future. The debate on Earth lasted for weeks. Should humanity join the Galactic Council? The planet was divided. President Rebecca Chin called for a global vote. Every human adult would decide Earth's future together. The campaign became intense. They abandoned us once. They'll do it again, shouted protesters in New York. We can't isolate forever, counter-protesters argued in Tokyo. Think of the opportunities, said supporters in Lagos. Remember the 70,000 dead, reminded memorials in every city. Maria Rodriguez was asked to speak at the United Nations. She stood before representatives from every nation on Earth, carrying the weight of her experiences. "I fought in the Swarm War," she began. "I watched my friends die. I saw Admiral Yamamoto sacrifice himself to save trillions of aliens who never thanked us for the first war. I have every reason to hate the galaxy." The assembly listened in complete silence. But here's what I learned. The galaxy isn't one thing. It's not the council that exiled us. It's billions of individuals, families, children, people who just want to live in peace. She pulled up a holographic image. It showed a small alien child, the same one Admiral Yamamoto had mentioned before. The little girl from the refugee camp. This is Tika. She's 7 years old. Her planet was destroyed by the swarm. She lost her parents, her home, everything, but she survived because humans fought for her. Maria's voice grew stronger. I met her last month when I visited the refugee stations. She drew me a picture. Want to know what it was? A human soldier holding her hand. Under it, she wrote, "Thank you" in broken English. She showed the picture to the assembly. Many people wiped their eyes. We don't join the council for the politicians who wronged us. We join for Tika, for every innocent person who needs protection, because that's who we are. We're not monsters. We're not savages. We're humans, and humans protect those who can't protect themselves. The speech was broadcast across Earth, across the solar system, across the entire galaxy. When the vote happened 3 days later, the results were clear. 73% of Earth voted yes. Humanity would join the Galactic Council, but on humanity's terms, with dignity, with respect, as equals. President Chen transmitted Earth's acceptance to the galaxy. A new era was beginning. But it wouldn't last long. 2 weeks after Earth officially joined the Galactic Council, the deep space monitoring stations detected something strange. A signal coming from beyond the galaxy's edge, a place no ship had ever explored. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo analyzed the data in her laboratory. Her hands trembled as she read the results. This couldn't be right. She ran the test again. Same results. She immediately called President Chun. "Madam President, we have a situation." Within an hour, Earth's leadership gathered in the Emergency Command Center. Dr. Okonkwo projected the signal data on the main screen. "This is a distress call," she explained. "It's using mathematical patterns, not language. Universal communication. The message is simple. Help, dying, ancient enemy, cannot stop." "Who sent it?" asked General Marcus Cross, who now commanded Earth's defense forces. That's the interesting part. The signals technology is more advanced than anything in our galaxy. We're talking about a civilization that might be millions of years older than the Council species. Older than the Council? President Chen leaned forward. "How is that possible?" "The galaxy is vast, Madam President. We've only explored a fraction of it. This signal comes from a region we call the Dark Zone. No ship that's gone there has ever returned. Captain Rodriguez, who had been promoted to Admiral after the Swarm War, studied the star charts. How far away is this signal's origin point? Approximately 6 months' travel at maximum hyperspace speed. And the enemy they mention?" Dr. Okonkwo's face went pale. "Based on the signal's urgency and the civilization's advanced technology, whatever is hunting them must be extremely powerful, possibly more dangerous than the swarm." The room erupted in worried conversations. Earth had just finished one war. Their military was still rebuilding. Families were still mourning their dead. "We should inform the Galactic Council," suggested Ambassador Lu Wei. "This affects everyone, not just Earth." "Already done," Chen replied. "Commander Vexnor is calling an emergency session. All species representatives will gather on the council station tomorrow." She looked at Admiral Rodriguez. "Maria, I need you there. You have more combat experience against unknown threats than anyone alive." Maria nodded slowly. She thought about Admiral Yamamoto, about the 41 soldiers who died in the hive, about the 70,000 humans who gave their lives to save the galaxy. "Here we go again," she whispered. President Chen heard her. "I know you're tired. We all are. But I'll go." Maria interrupted. That's what humans do, remember? We help because it's right, not because it's easy. The Galactic Council chamber looked different than it had 6 months ago. Human delegates now sat among the alien representatives. Captain Maria Rodriguez sat in the Earth section, wearing her military uniform with her medals displayed. She had earned every one of them. Supreme Chancellor stood at the center podium. His 3 eyes looked tired. We face a new crisis. A distress call from an unknown civilization being hunted by an unknown enemy. We must decide how to respond. We should ignore it, said Representative KLARA from the Avian Collective. We just survived the swarm war. Our fleets are damaged. Our economies are struggling. We cannot afford another conflict. Many delegates nodded in agreement. They were afraid. Maria understood that. Fear was natural after what they'd been through. The signal mentions an ancient enemy. Commander Vexnor said, "What if this threat eventually reaches our galaxy? What if ignoring it now means facing it later, when we're unprepared?" "We don't even know if the distress call is real," another representative argued. "It could be a trap." The debate continued for hours. Some wanted to send a scout ship. Others wanted to send nothing. A few suggested asking humans to investigate alone. Finally, Maria stood up. The chamber fell silent. Everyone remembered her speech at the United Nations. Her words carried weight now. 6 months ago, she began, humanity received a distress call from this council. We had every reason to ignore it. You had exiled us, called us monsters. We owed you nothing. She paused, looking around the chamber. But we came anyway. 70,000 humans died saving you. Not because you deserved it, because it was right. Now you face the same choice. An unknown civilization is crying for help. You can ignore them like you once ignored us. Or you can be better than that. Her voice grew passionate. I'm tired. My people are tired. We've lost friends, family, entire communities. The last thing we want is another war. But if there's someone out there dying, someone being hunted by a force they can't stop, then we can't just turn away. She looked directly at the Chancellor. Earth volunteers to lead the investigation. We'll send a fleet to the Dark Zone. We'll find out what's happening. And if there's someone who needs help, we'll provide it. Even after everything you've sacrificed, the Chancellor asked quietly. Especially after everything we've sacrificed, because those sacrifices meant something. They showed the galaxy who humans really are, and I won't let that legacy die. The chamber erupted in discussion, but Maria noticed something. Many alien delegates were nodding. Her words had moved them. The vote took 3 days. In the end, the Galactic Council approved a joint mission to investigate the distress signal. Earth would lead it, but other species would contribute ships and resources. Admiral Maria Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESS Yamamoto, Earth's newest flagship. They had named it after the hero who saved the galaxy. She hoped to honor that name. Her fleet consisted of 50 Earth ships and 30 vessels from other species. Not a massive force, but enough to defend themselves if needed. All ships report ready, Admiral, Lieutenant Park announced. He had survived the Hive mission and refused to retire. Hyperspace coordinates locked for the Dark Zone. Maria looked at her crew. Young faces, hopeful faces. They hadn't fought in the Swarm War. They only knew the stories. For them, this was a chance to prove themselves. Listen up. Maria addressed the entire fleet. We're heading into unknown space to answer a distress call from a civilization we know nothing about. We might find friends who need help. We might find enemies who want to destroy us. We might find nothing at all. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. Whatever we find, remember this. We represent humanity. We represent Earth. Every action we take, every decision we make, shows the galaxy who we are. So be brave, be smart, and be kind when you can, but strong when you must. Are you ready? Yes, Admiral, the crew shouted back. Then let's go be heroes. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines of light. The familiar space of their galaxy faded away as they traveled toward the unknown. In the captain's ready room, Maria looked at a photograph on her desk. It showed Admiral Yamamoto and the 50 volunteers before they entered the swarm hive, all of them smiling despite knowing they would probably die. "I hope we make you proud, sir," she whispered. A communication came in from President Chin on Earth. "Maria, I know you'll face difficult choices out there. Trust your instincts. You've never let us down. Thank you, Madam President. We'll report back as soon as we have information. Safe travels, Admiral. Earth is counting on you." The transmission ended. Maria returned to the bridge. Through the viewport, she could see the edge of their galaxy approaching. Beyond it was darkness, mystery, danger, and somewhere in that darkness, someone was waiting for help. Admiral Maria Rodriguez smiled. This was what humans did best. Running toward danger when everyone else ran away. Helping strangers when it made no sense to help. Fighting for what was right even when the odds were impossible. The galaxy learned 3 things about humanity, she said to herself, remembering the old saying. First, never abandon your allies. Second, never underestimate human determination. Third, never, ever make humanity your enemy. She looked at her crew working with focus and dedication. She thought about Earth, beautiful and strong, waiting back home. She remembered every soldier who had died to protect strangers. Navigator, what's our ETA to the signal source? 5 months, 23 days, Admiral. Good. Plenty of time to prepare. All hands. This is Admiral Rodriguez. Get some rest. Train hard. Stay sharp. We don't know what's waiting for us, but whatever it is, we'll face it together. The ESS Yamamoto continued its journey into the unknown. Behind it, the combined fleet followed, humans and aliens working side by side for the first time in history. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it, not through conquest or domination, but through sacrifice and courage, through choosing to help even when helping. Back on Earth, President Rebecca Chin stood in front of the global memorial wall. It stretched for kilometers, listing every human who died in the Swarm War. 70,000 names carved in black marble. Families visited every day, touching the names of loved ones, leaving flowers, telling stories to children who would never meet their parents or grandparents. Chin placed her hand on Admiral Kenji Yamamoto's name. The galaxy is safe because of you, because of all of you. I promise we'll never forget. A little girl approached, holding her mother's hand. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. She looked up at the wall with wide eyes. Mommy, why are there so many names? Her mother knelt down. These are heroes, sweetheart. They saved the galaxy. The whole galaxy? The whole galaxy. The little girl thought about this for a moment. Then she touched the wall gently. Thank you, heroes. Chun felt tears on her face. This is why they fought. This is why they sacrificed. So little girls could grow up in a safe galaxy. So families could live without fear. Her communication device buzzed. It was Dr. Okonkwo. Madam President, you need to see this. We've decoded more of the distress signal. There's additional information we missed before. What kind of information? The civilization that sent the signal, they claimed they created the swarm. Chen's blood went cold. What? They say the swarm was an experiment that went wrong. A biological weapon that became uncontrollable. And the enemy hunting them now. It's another one of their creations. Something even worse. How much worse? They call it the silence. Whatever it touches simply stops existing. Planets, stars, everything. Just gone. Chin closed her eyes. Another threat. Another war. Would it ever end? Does Admiral Rodriguez know? Not yet. The transmission is too far. It will take weeks to reach her fleet. Send it immediately. She needs to know what she's flying into. As Dr. Okonkwo left to send the message, Chin looked back at the memorial wall. At all those names. All those sacrifices. I'm sorry, she whispered to the dead. I'm so sorry. But we need heroes again. In space, 6 months away from Earth, Admiral Rodriguez's fleet continued toward the dark zone. They didn't know about the silence yet. They didn't know they were flying towards something that made the swarm look harmless. But when they found out, they would face it anyway. because that's what humans did. They ran toward the darkness while others ran away. They fought the monsters others feared to name. They sacrificed when sacrifice was needed.